The misconceptions and stereotypes about Native Americans made it difficult for me to be proud of who I was. But I knew that if I didn't perform my hoop dance at my school's cultural festival in front of all my classmates, my ancestors' legacy would be forgotten. Have you ever felt like you had to hide a piece of yourself because you were worried about being judged or misunderstood? Well, that was a dilemma I faced when I was 14 years old as my 9th grade school teacher scoured the classroom desperately looking for volunteers for the upcoming cultural festival. Now, as a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, I had something to share, especially because my Uncle Terry had just taught me a traditional healing ceremony called the hoop dance. But as my teacher's eyes landed on me, my heart began to race out of my chest. I was afraid of what my classmates would think of me claiming my native heritage. I didn't think that they would understand who I was or what I represented. I mean, what do you think about when you hear the term Native American? Do you picture a half-naked, teepee-living, bow and arrow hunting, feather and fringe-wearing savage? I knew that's what my friends saw. I mean, how could they not? Our history books in Hollywood was telling us that that's what a real Indian is. I was just a kid from San Dimas, California, whose mom happened to be a full-blooded Lumbee. Mom was actually the first ever Native American to compete in the Miss America pageant.
For 1980, Miss Utah is contestant number 28, Miss...
But that didn't matter, because I knew my friends would still not see me as a real Native American. So I didn't raise my hand that day in class to participate in that cultural festival. I remember sitting in my room that night, staring at myself in the mirror, wondering if I should try to conform to these mainstream expectations. Although I was known as the kid at school who always had the biggest smile on his face, as I stared into my own eyes that night, I began to practice my warrior face. I wanted to look, sound, and move how my friends expected me to. And you know what confused me the most? The thing that confused me the most was that everything my Uncle Terry was teaching me through the hoop dance was about moving with grace and beauty, agility and dexterity. The hoop dance was a healing ceremony. It wasn't for hurting. We believe that every time the hoop passed through your body that you added time to your life. And as I pick up this second hoop, we actually see that there's a story being told. It's a story of you and I and our journey through the many stages of life. And as we watch this dance, we see the different plants and animals and how they work in harmony with one another, because they must. They must work in harmony together to form this world that we live in. I came to the realization that night that not only did I have an opportunity, but I had an obligation to educate my classmates on the fact that Native Americans are not only a thing of the past, but we are still here today, and we're not exactly what you think we are. So I showed up that next day to school in clothes a little bit bigger than usual. I remember one of my friends coming up to me and saying, "Eric, why are you wearing a jacket on the hottest day of the year?" I said, "Don't worry about it." But the truth was that I had my handmade hoop dance regalia under my clothes because it was the day of the cultural festival. And as that lunch bell rang, which marked the beginning of the cultural festival, my heart began to race again. But this time it wasn't because of fear or embarrassment. It was because I realized how important it was in this moment that I break down those stereotypes and I show all of my classmates what a modern day Native American looks like. I found the nearest building. I hid behind it. And I removed my oversized clothes. I knew I had to find Miss Johnson, and I had to tell her that I was going to dance. I eventually found her. I gave her my CD, and I said, When I look over at you, press play. I approached the quad, and I got the attention of all my classmates. As I set down my hoops one by one, they began to all look up at me. I looked back at them. I took a deep breath. And I gave Miss Johnson the cue.
I hope you know there's no one else like you. Hey-yo, hey-yo, hey-yo. Hey-ya, 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 hey-ya,
When I came to school the next day, I was only on campus for about 5 minutes when my best friend runs up to me and says, "Eric, have you seen this?" He hands me the school newspaper, and on the cover is a picture of me with my hoops with the title, Lord of the Rings. Now, next year, after that, they hosted that same festival. Except this time, instead of it being just one day, they had to expand it to a 3-day event because there were so many more students who wanted to volunteer and share their heritage. So not only did I educate my classmates, but I also inspired them to share who they were. I continued to dance over the years, and one day I received a very unexpected phone call from an entertainment company based out of Montreal, Canada, called Cirque du Soleil. They had created a show called Totem, and they asked me to be their lead hoop dancer. I couldn't turn that down, so I ran away with the circus. I performed over 2,500 shows in 19 different countries alongside 47 other performing artists who became like my family. And backstage, there was 17 different languages spoken amongst us. And because we had to work together every single night, we performed 10 shows a week. And we had to embrace each other's cultural differences. As we were traveling through Germany, we got the news about COVID. The show immediately shut down, and that was the end of my journey with my Cirque du Soleil family. But losing my job from Cirque du Soleil was one of the biggest challenges that I've ever faced in my life. But I refused to be defeated. I felt a purpose to continue to share. And now here I am today on the TEDx stage sharing my story with you. As we reflect on my journey, I challenge you to think about the times that you may have held back who you are. Embrace your identity. Embrace your heritage. And embrace your passions. Because you can educate. And you can inspire. And you can make the world a better place. So share your story and culture. And together, we can create a world where diversity is celebrated and everyone feels empowered to share their unique experiences and perspectives. Because we all have something to share. For me, it's the hoop dance. What is it for you? Thank you.